Hello everyone, this is Easy Natural English with Liam, where I speak to you in everyday English about everyday topics so you can get used to English in a natural way that hopefully isn't too boring. So I'm going to speak with no script and no editing, so hopefully my English sounds nice and natural, but I'm going to make it just a bit easier than I usually speak, so hopefully it won't be as difficult as TV shows or movies. But anyway, today I want to talk to you about pubs. If you listen to the last episode, you'll know that I come from a place in the UK. So today I thought I'd talk about a UK tradition or a British tradition, and that is pubs. So you might know about pubs. It's probably they are probably one of the most famous parts of UK culture. I think lots of people, when they visit the UK, they want to go to a pub. So this word pub, because many countries they just say bar, but in the UK we call them pubs. So this word pub comes from public house. And that's because in the past, for more than 2,000 years, British people have been drinking ale, which is a type of beer. So basically, British people have been drinking beer for over 2,000 years. It's a long tradition. And these public houses were a place to drink beer or to drink ale. So it just meant, you had private houses where people lived, and then you had, and you couldn't go inside because it was private. It was someone's family home. And then you had public houses, and that meant that house was open to the public, which meant the, local people or anybody could come into that house. So it basically looked like a house, but anyone could come inside and they would serve beer, and it would be ale, and it would be ale that they were making themselves at that house. So it was kind of their own special brand. It wasn't quite a brand, but their own special type of ale that they would be making in that house. So it wasn't until this tradition has been around for a long time. Some pubs in the UK even claim, or they say, that they are more than 1,000 years old. Some of them say they are more than 1,500 years old. Like the pub that still exists and is still serving drinks today. Some of these pubs say they have been around for more than 1,500 years. It's hard to know exactly because, with history, it's hard to know, to find the documents or evidence that claim is true. But there are definitely some pubs in the UK that are very, very old. But the pubs that we see today, so like I said before, it just looked like kind of someone's house that you could go inside. But the way we know pubs today, with the kind of seating and the bar, and the kind of arrangement that we are used to, those apparently came around the 19th century. Before that, it was kind of hard to tell the difference between somebody's home and one of these public houses. But around the 19th century, they became more like proper businesses, and you could clearly tell, this is a pub. And a lot of pubs started to appear around 500 years ago when people started traveling more. Before that, people, there weren't really many roads and people would just kind of stay in their local village. But around 500 years ago, when people started trading more and traveling to other places, they needed a place to sleep. So a lot of pubs started offering accommodation or lodging or a place to sleep. And those were called inns, which is like INN. So like inn, but with an extra I-N-N, inn. That meant like a pub where you could stay. And sometimes in the UK, you will still see the word inn, and maybe also in other English-speaking countries. So the traditional meaning of inn means kind of a small hotel, or a small pub where you can sleep. But these days, sometimes pubs will use the name inn, but actually they don't have accommodation. So just for kind of maybe traditional reasons, like perhaps it used to have accommodation, but now it doesn't. So in the UK, you might see, the word pub. You also might see the word inn, and you also might see the word tavern. And tavern is also a pub which doesn't have accommodation. So inn is supposed to have accommodation, but sometimes doesn't these days. And tavern, traditionally didn't have accommodation. So there were kind of two types of public house. So today you will still see some pubs with that in their name. It might be something something inn, something something tavern. So if you're in the UK, that means it's a pub. But actually, if it says inn, it could also just be a hotel. So a little bit confusing. But in speaking, we don't say, let's go to the inn or let's go to the tavern. We always say, let's go to the pub. So even if the name is written tavern, people will still just call it the pub. So what is in a pub these days? Like I said, some pubs are really, really old. And even the ones that maybe were not a pub before, there's still a lot of pubs that are in very old buildings. So that's one of my favorite things about British pubs, that the buildings are so old and they have this very nice, very kind of traditional feel. And I think that's what is missing in other countries. So when I go to these pubs in other countries, so like, for example, here in Japan, they have a chain, I forgot what it's called now, The Hub. They have this chain called The Hub, and this company calls itself a pub. It says like, this is a British pub. And when I went inside, immediately I felt like, this is not a British pub. This feels nothing like a British pub. And I think one of the things that's hard to copy or replicate overseas is, you don't have the old buildings. Because in the UK these days, we have chain pubs, and they're kind of in maybe more recent, more modern buildings, and they have more of a modern style. But personally, I don't like those ones. I like the more local pub where, it has this old feeling. You go inside and you feel like you've really stepped back in a bit of like British history. Sometimes, they have a nice fireplace, and in the winter, it's very cozy. It's very comfortable. If you go in an old pub and they have an old fireplace, they have like old wooden chairs, old wooden bar, and it really has this old feel and this kind of, old-fashioned style, which I really enjoy. And I think that's kind of hard to copy overseas. So if you do go to the UK and you want to go to a pub, don't go to the chain pubs, because it won't give you this kind of cultural experience that I'm trying to explain to you now. So please look for a nice old local pub. And in pubs these days, as they have done for a long time, they serve beer, they serve cider, and cider is an alcoholic drink made from apples. So it's served in a very similar way to beer, as in you can get it on a tap. You can also get it in a can or in a bottle. It's very popular in many European countries. But like here, where I live in Japan, I almost never see it. I think it would be very hard to find in Japan. And even in Japan, they use the word cider for something different. In Japan, cider is more like a soda. But in the UK, if you get cider, don't give that to your children, because that is a strong alcoholic drink. Similar to beer, but with a kind of apple taste. It's very good. So pubs, they serve beer and cider. And then, of course, yeah, those are the very traditional drinks. And then, of course, these days, lots of them serve spirits and wine and, any other kind of alcoholic drink. And some of them have food. So not all of them. Really, to be a pub, yeah, you need to be serving alcohol, and you need to have places to sit to drink that alcohol. And you don't need to have food. And lots of pubs don't have food. And I think that's also a difference when I see pubs in other countries, like overseas, they tend to be serving food. Whereas, yeah, that's not always the case in the UK. And something that's also hard to see overseas is the kind of games that we play in pubs in the UK. So if you go into a pub in the UK, then there'll always be some kind of games you can play as well. So that could be darts, which is the game where you throw little metal arrows into a board. So you could have darts, and then some kind of billiards game, so like snooker or pool. So something where you're hitting balls with a long stick, or what is called a cue, and try to get them into the holes or into the pockets. So yeah, there's lots of bars with a billiard table or a dart board. And then also a lot of pubs have board games. So, something I really enjoy to do if I go to a bar with my friends, I like to get a beer and play some chess, or play some Monopoly or Jenga or some of these other kind of board games. And personally, that's something I look for in a pub. If I go into a pub and I see a good pile of board games and also a fireplace, then I think, this is a good pub. This will make me happy. And also something that's different in the UK from these overseas like pub replicas is in the UK, again, a good pub, not all of them, but personally what I think is a good pub should be serving real ale. And like I said earlier, ale is a type of beer, and real ale is a beer that's kind of alive. It's still fermenting. So when you get a lager, it's usually fermented, then it's just put in a bottle or it's put in the barrel. And the barrel is the thing that you serve it from with the tap, the big round wooden container. So lager is kind of just packaged and it's not fermenting. So fermenting is the process that you need to do to create beer. It's also the process you do to create yogurt or kimchi or sauerkraut or miso. Fermentation. So when you add bacteria or yeast to something to make a food or a drink. And real ale, unlike lager and other types of beer, is still fermenting. So when you drink it, it has this kind of very full, kind of more fresh type of flavor to it. And personally, I really like real ale, but I don't see it so much in a lot of other countries. But yeah, if you go to the UK and you do go to a kind of traditional pub, look for one that's serving real ale, which a lot of them do. And if you like beer, you'll enjoy it. If you don't like beer, like if you don't like lager, then you probably won't like real ale either, because it's kind of a stronger tasting beer. Lager is quite, soft and effervescent. It has bubbles. It's a bit, sweet, like kind of soda-ish or something. But real ale is kind of like very real beer, so it's not so sparkly like lager. It's often served at room temperature, so it's not cold. And it has a very strong taste, but it's very good, so give it a try. And then food in pubs, it tends to be traditional home style British cooking. So if you go to the UK and you want to try some traditional British food, and you're not lucky enough to be invited to somebody's home, then a pub is a good place where you can get the kind of food that people eat at home. So things like a roast dinner, which is, roast meat and roast vegetables with gravy, and then some other things, Yorkshire pudding, things like that. And then shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie is not a pie. It's called a pie. You can look for images to save me explaining it. And there are types of pies, all these kind of traditional food, sausages and stuff like that. So you can get this kind of more traditional home style cooking in pubs that serve food, but not all of them do. So anyway, I'll wrap it up here. That's about all for today. So if you do get the chance when this pandemic ends, please go to the UK and visit a traditional pub. It's a very nice experience. So thank you all very much for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, please follow and review. Everybody share with your friends, and I will see you all back here next time.